You're not riding at all?
No, not at all. Hopefully soon, though.
Grab the pointer.
Well, you can take it up to the actually. Yeah, just take it
Can
up
I
to the
sit it
patio.
under
Yeah,
there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. Just, oh, yeah, that's pretty typical. Well, we've got a presentation too.
Oh, okay. I'm like, man, there's a lot of folks here.
Yeah, that's part. We got some sketch movies. And we got Lauren's family who's going to talk about something about her.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations again. Well done. Hey, you did a good job at the fun banquet, I guess.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're gonna go hug them. How about that?
One big hug.
Hi, sir.
Yes, yeah.
After I finish.
So that you and me should come and I'll take your picture and Liz will take your picture and that'll be awesome.
All right.
And I'll take your picture.
All right, it's 7 o'clock, and this is the Board of Mayor and Aldermen meeting for April 12th, 2012. We will start by rising for the invocation to be given tonight by Steve McCullough of Cornerstone Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Heavenly Father, we pause here to give you thanks for your blessings on our community. We invite you to be present in this meeting, to direct the affairs of this liberation and these public servants. We do pray for your continued favor and grace upon our community. In Jesus' name,
item is the approval of the agenda, and David has a suggestion.
Mayor, thank you. I would just ask if the board could move agenda item 7A, report by the Farragut Knox County Schools Education Relations Committee under the mayor's report. That's the only change we have tonight.
Given that little change, let's approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye. I mean, the agenda.
Aye.
Aye. And mayor's report, let's take care of this Arbor Day poster contest.
Okay, Arbor Day is a national holiday that's celebrated the last Friday in April each year. It's a holiday in which individuals are encouraged to plant and care for trees. In 2010, the National Arbor Day Foundation discontinued their national poster competition, but they encouraged the public to continue supporting the cause. The town of Farragut continued our support by creating our own poster competition themed Our Treeless Future. We partnered with AmeriCorps member Joshua Cunningham and Stormwater intern Jessica Davis to plan and execute the town of Farragut's first annual poster competition. Through our relationship with the Farragut Kiwanis Club, we brought our competition to the Farragut Intermediate School K-Kids. 36 kids in grades 3 through 5 submitted original posters for the competition, which depict what they think the world would be like without trees. And if you haven't had a chance to go look at the posters, please do. They're very good. The town's beautification committee judged the posters in their March 6th meeting and picked the top 3 posters in each age group, along with the best poster overall. If Mayor Miguel, if you would come to present, we would like to call Diva Sadiki, our Best of Show winner from Farragut Intermediate School, 5th grade. We have her certificate and Arbor Day.
Before we get to the Knox County School. Lauren, come on up. I am really proud to announce that Lauren has passed her Certified Park and Recreation Professional exam. This is a big deal in our profession. The National Recreation and Parks Association has a certification for those of us who have gone through school and are in this professional field that we love, Parks and Rec. This test is not easy, and she sweated for months and months studying for this, and it's very difficult. A lot of people don't pass it the first time out, so we are very, very excited and want to congratulate her. I know her mom and her husband are here in the audience tonight, and I'm sure they are equally as proud. But here's her certification, and let's all give her a great big hand. For our department, it's great for our town. The more professionals that we have certified in all areas, the better it is for us, and it's better for grants for us. So it helps us in all different ways.
Do you want me to take witnesses? Do you need that?
I was just like, under the mayor's report, would like to say that I served as principal of the day at the Farragut Intermediate School a couple of weeks ago. I worked with the principal, Kay Wellens. I probably saw at least 1,080 students. I was in 17 classrooms, and it was the first day back for the children from being on spring break, and I was very impressed by how attentive the children were and how happy they were. I was very impressed with the school and what the principal was doing, and it was fun being principal for a day.
Thank you for that. Now we'll go to the report from the Farragut Knox County Schools Education Relation Committee.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. I'm Mark Littleton, and I'm chair of the Farragut Knox County Education and Relations Committee. And we would like to give you a report tonight on our activities for the year. We've been chartered by the town, of course, and we've come together this year and worked and developed a product that we're going to show you tonight. It's called the School Needs List. And we want to tell you how we got there and to tell you how we feel it affects the town and what we can do going forward and get your ideas on the product. On the committee we have a committee here tonight. Nancy Wentz, Secretary, Russell Barber, Michael Singletary, they're all here and worked very diligently this year. Also the town administration, Gary Palmer and Valerie Millsaps have really helped us come together and work as a committee and understand how town volunteer committees function. When we came together in the fall, we realized that we had a lot of latitude based on our charter from the board on what to do, and we struggled a little bit to decide what we would do as a committee to promote the linkage between Farragut and the schools in Knox County that serve Farragut. So we developed a mission statement and values and principles. I would like to tell you what those are, and so you'll understand how we move forward. Our mission was to create and maintain a forum for dialogue with the Farragut schools, to build a consensus on the needs of the schools, and then convey that information back to you and hopefully in a way that will foster support for the 5 Knox County schools that serve our community here. Our values and principles are, first of all, excellence. We feel that great schools are a foundation to great communities. Innovation. We want to help Farragut schools identify the innovative measures that they need to achieve their needs. And communication, providing feedback to the schools, the town, and the community concerning various opportunities to support the schools. Teamwork is a key function here because we believe that the town must come together to support these schools, and we want to work in a collaborative manner with a common vision and purpose. To that end, each of the committee members was assigned a specific school. We have linkage to that specific school so we can understand the various needs of key individual schools. And then problem solving was another value or principle of our committee. Strive to find a practical and effective solution to the desire to have high quality education in our schools. From that, we've got some key points that we want to share as I summarize before we get to the product. And we call the product the School Needs List. And we don't believe that this product has ever been developed. It specifically identifies particular needs in the schools that serve Farragut. But the key points we learned as we went through this process were the best schools generally receive broad community support beyond government funding. That's through people and businesses adopting schools, through volunteers in schools, through fundraising, through mentoring, etc. And that actually we found, to our surprise, that successful schools can actually become penalized in per capita funding due to the way money flows through the administration of our county schools. For example, one of the 5 schools here this year had about 1,700 students, but had per capita money for about 1,400. And there are certain federal mandates that dictate that when a student is in a school somewhere in the system and that school is falling behind its benchmark targets, that student, or typically the parent of that student, can appeal to the board that student be moved to a more successful school. And that has happened in our area and in the schools that serve our area. But interestingly, the per capita dollars don't follow that student. So the student winds up moving to a school that's, you know, more successful for the time being, perhaps, but the per capita dollars in that particular school tend to fall as a result. And that's happening in our community. We also found that we believe our community and our town would be more engaged if school needs were specifically known, which could also boost some pride and participation. I know for me personally, when I'm contributing to something, it helps me understand, well, what exactly did my money do? I had a phone solicitor call me the other night for some enterprise, and it sounded vague and foreign to me, and I didn't know where my money was going. But locally, I participate in some endeavors personally, and I can see where the money goes, and it means a lot to me. And so we began to wrap our minds around that idea as we worked and developed the product of the school needs list from our committee. We also were startled to see that the needs are so varied in scope that just about any person, group, or business can find a way to assist, because there's some high dollar items on the school needs list, as you might imagine. There's also some pretty low dollar items, and the spectrum of that is rather startling. We've got a detailed school needs list on the town website with a link from our committee page, but I just want to highlight a few things here tonight. Farragut High, Principal Mike Reynolds would like to staff a 2-day per week after school math, science, and English learning center for all students. His target startup was January of this year. That money would directly pay for that staff to assist anyone, not just some particular group of students, but to assist anyone who had special needs in these target areas of math, science, and English. $5,500 per semester for that. A high dollar item, $38,000 to purchase notebooks and desktop computers for a learning center. Another item, $10,000 for satellite wireless hubs to integrate the existing server. This would complete the campus wireless system. Long-term needs. Some of these needs are short-term, some are long-term. You know, my son's in the band at Farragut High, and for years I've walked up and down that street by the football field right there every Friday night. They have a home game, and I was just blind to the fact that it's dark going up and down that street. I just took that for granted. And when we began talking to Mr. Reynolds about school needs, he said, "Man, that street's dark." I said, "You're right, nothing could have been hit on that street." He'd like to have some lights, and you know, not to make a sore point, but he's told me that he'd take contemporary or historic lights on that street, whatever he could get. And I was also rather surprised and really sad to see that the last time any potholes were repaired on that campus, he did that with some of his discretionary funds. Apparently there's some disagreement, I guess, on who owns what portion of the streets and driveway going to school. And so, rather in frustration, he just paved some potholes on his own. So the bottom line is not to dwell on any of these particular points, but you can see that there's a lot of needs in this one school, and they're great and small. Farragut Intermediate, $10,000 continued funding for a teaching assistant. A second computer lab with a teacher cost of $33,000 to $58,000. A new sign. We've got a couple of schools that need signs, and this would be a joint sign at the bottom of the hill between Farragut Intermediate and Farragut Middle. $30,000 to pay for 2 curriculum specialists. Then long term, 3 PCs or iPads per room in each of 48 rooms, and that's quite a high dollar item at $83,000. Farragut Middle, as I said, shares the need for the sign. $7,000 for new office staff PCs, $34,000 to replace some computers, $13,000 for active expression clickers, which is a teacher-student interface device. Now this is an interesting one, new curtains for the stage. You know, for all we know, there might be some seamstress in the community that might be willing to take this on, or some clothing manufacturer that would jump on that one and be able to do that at a much lower cost than just going out and buying the new curtains. Farragut Primary, and this is a theme throughout all the schools, technology. They want more computers. Increase the rubber mulch on the playground. Again, This is one that I would have never thought of, but perhaps some landscape contractor out here has got some extra mulch and just doesn't know what to do with it after a certain job, or would be willing to donate it. And here's a school that needs extra mulch. And so we're just thinking as a committee, if we can connect the community and the town, the citizens, the businesses to these needs, get these needs in front of the public, then maybe a lot more of them will be met. Another interesting one, we may have found the money for this one, a little small victory. A school sign was removed when Campbell Station Road was widened and was never replaced, and there was a misunderstanding about that sign. We, as a committee, were actually able to work and discover that TDOT paid Knox County, and then Knox County forwarded money back to the school system, and so that was just an overlooked punch list item, I guess you might say, from that job. So there is apparently money to put that sign up there, but it's still not there. An interesting long-term need, I live in the area of this school, and I see this every morning. There's a great number of people that walk their children to this school, and they go up Campbell Station Road, they turn in the driveway. There is no sidewalk. There's a really nice sidewalk up Campbell Station Road, but no sidewalk from Campbell Station on over to the front door of the campus. The school administration has actually had to block off one lane of traffic from the driveway. It's a very congested situation anyway. They blocked off a lane of traffic so that students will have a place to walk from Campbell Station Road to the front door of the school. And so they need a sidewalk. You know, and again, just thinking about how to connect to the community. For all we know, maybe there's a contractor out there that's got a big job involving concrete and would be willing to tap into that big job and donate a sidewalk to the school. They want more cameras for security and lighting in front of the building to improve security. At Hardin Valley, they would like PC, it's a new school of course, and their list is a little bit shorter, but they still have needs. PC-related equipment is already beginning to need replacement. Some laptops have crashed and projectors have died, and they could use anywhere from $1,000 to $30,000 just to take care of replacements. And then long term, you know, we have a heritage here in this community. 60, 70 years ago, there was talk of muddy Oak Ridges. When the Oak Ridge government facilities were built and there were no sidewalks and streets were bad, and you could tell who was from Oak Ridge by the mud on their boots. Well, here you might say we've got the muddy Hardin Valley High kids. Their landscaping is not finished over at the school. And so there are some particular areas that are barren, and then when it rains, students begin walking and creating a muddy situation just for ingress and egress to the school. So the bottom line is this is the product that we developed. And the interesting thing to us was to see the very common ways that we can help our schools and the ways that might not actually involve funding. Maybe there are people out there who would be willing to address these needs out of some overflow or some other project they're working on. So our key message to you is that we want you to know about the product, and we'd really like for you to help us on the Education Relations Committee by showing us ways that we can connect to people who might be interested in these topics. I've already heard one gentleman, a business owner in town, say, you know, I just wrote a check for, I think it was $1,500 to the general fund of the school. And he saw that one school needed a printer. It was about $1,500. He said, I would have had a lot more satisfaction in my donation if I could have said, here's money and here's a printer, and I could have known that was my printer that I gave that school. So we think there's some traction out there for people to become aware of the list, and for individuals, businesses, clubs, and groups to target specific items here. We want you to know about it. This is our product that we developed this year, and we encourage you to suggest to us ways that we can get the word out in the community, and then you also can perhaps target needs and assist these particular schools. We have the committee here, and if you have any questions, we'd be glad to address those.
I don't have any questions, but I'll tell you, well done. I don't know if you heard my comments right before you came in on my thoughts on schools. If not, you'll get to read it soon. But you won't find a bigger champion of schools than what you have here. And I'm very proud of this group. I'll give you just a short snippet of what I said before. Schools are the #1 piece of infrastructure in any community. And what you say here is true. You know, I think one of the challenges is to make sure people understand how quickly technology wears out. You know, I can speak from a business position. You know, after, you know, the use of a computer in the schools and in a business where you're using it all day, every day, they don't last. It's not like having your home PC where you get maybe 7 or 8 years out. In a business, and I know in our business, every 3 years, and we're lucky if we get most of them to 3, they're switching them out. But the needs here are great, and quite frankly, they're not that tough to solve. As you said, there are people out there that have the resources. As I've done fundraising in the past for the different schools, Farragut and Hardin Valley, the best thing to do is get out and knock on doors, ask the people who have the resources. And I tell you what, the business community in this area for schools, they're very giving. It is rare that I've been told no. You've done a great job developing a list that's easy to understand. I appreciate very much your efforts. And if I can personally help in any way, please call upon me. But well done.
Thank you very much.
So what would you say you need from us right now?
Well, right now, I see this group being well connected to the community in 2 ways. Obviously, you're connected, you're the leadership of the town, and you control the things that the town does. I know that in the past, you have given money to the schools, and that's been very much appreciated. I also know that you're going through your own budget process right now, and if the town has any funds, and you would like to support any of these needs, or maybe just make a general donation to the schools would always appreciate that. But also, linked to the fact that you're the leadership of the town, you're also linked to the town politically, socially, and going forward, we'd like you to help us get the word out. We've worked real hard on the nuts and bolts of the product, but we may not necessarily have all the creative ideas needed to take this, which is a good product, and then make it blossom and help people become aware of it. So those are the 2 things: how to use the product, and also, from the town standpoint, being included in the budget each year is greatly appreciated by the schools.
You know, Mark, I'll add one of the things that I think as a community that we can enhance, elevate our level of involvement, and that is with the school board itself. You know, the school board and the county commissioners have difficult decisions, much like we have from time to time up here. And it's important that we have good dialogue with them. Good dialogue doesn't mean we're always going to have agreement, but it does mean we have a seat at the table and they hear what our needs are. And in an upcoming edition, something that you'll see that I state is, if we did not have, if any one of the 5 schools you mentioned failed, any one of them, and they became one of the schools you mentioned earlier, where students were leaving to go somewhere else, it would have such a dramatic impact on the town of Farragut. It would be amazing. In some cases, it actually can have a worse effect than losing a major employer.
I certainly think so. If I can add a personal word, I grew up in East Tennessee in a nearby county. Lived away for several years. My wife and I came back here about 5.5 years ago. And as we thought about where we wanted to live, I looked on a short list of about 5 to 6 areas around my work where I could commute rather reasonably. And the key factors in that short list were the educational needs of our children, the religious needs of our family, and then the social climate that we wanted to live in. And so we quickly developed a short list. And even though I grew up in the area, I treated this like a new venture, coming back and exploring what is this area and where do I want to live. And certainly schools were right at the top of the list. As a father of 3, that was one of the key things for me. And you're exactly right. The areas that had failing schools, for whatever reason, didn't make it to my short list.
Recently, I attended a session put on by the Knoxville Chamber of Commerce. They brought in a site selection group that looks for new places that businesses want to expand. And the gentleman that led that presentation talked about how, I may be off in the time frame, but I thought he said about 10 years ago, schools were not at the bottom of the list, but they were on the lower end. And he says now they're right at the top. Because, schools don't just educate children, they build the workforce of the future. And I can tell you already, that there have been opportunities that Knox County has struggled to take advantage of, because they go, okay, if we come, who's gonna be there to work for us? And just because you have people that don't have a job, doesn't mean that they're a viable employee, if you will.
Exactly.
You have to be able to educate them. So, it just, I could go on and on, as you can tell, my passion just about oozes out of me. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. And from the committee standpoint, we did not explore this year, and rather deliberately, we did not explore strong linkage back to the school board, the Knox County School Board. Perhaps in the months to come, now that we have this project in place, we might follow up on your idea there, making that linkage stronger.
I'm willing to listen, I can tell you that. I don't know everybody in the audience, but I know we have one principal here. Thank you for what you do.
Would the committee stand? Mr. Barber, Ms. Wentz, Dr. Singletary? This is our group.
Thank you.
And a real hard working one.
I think one of the least things that we can do is make up a list of this that we can hand out to the business community. No, our business community does want to be engaged in the town's functions, and that includes schools, even though we don't run the schools. And let's give them opportunities to pitch in.
Paul, we're going to give each of you a list tonight. We've got a list before you. I don't know how many extras we have for the community here, but it's on our website as well.
Wasn't there I thought I saw a partial list at least in the Farragut Press within the last couple of weeks, or
Dr. News.
I'm so
Is
sorry.
running,
Thank you, well done.
yes, running selected articles each week, and we greatly appreciate that. All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next item is Citizens Forum.
I have one speaker tonight. It's Emily Loper at 330 Quail Point.
Can you go to the podium and give us your name and address?
I sure will.
My name is Emily Loper. I live at 330 Quail Point Road here in Farragut. The reason why I'm here tonight, I read in the Farragut Press that you all would like community input before the fact rather than after the fact that you do something. The reason why I'm here tonight is to talk to you about the EDC committee's proposing of building more apartment complexes in Farragut. I would like to know, and I talked to Mr. Purvis today, kind of where that is. Like the gentleman that spoke before me, I'm not originally from this area. Frankly, I'm a newcomer. I want to thank you all for the job you do. This is the most wonderful place I have ever been in my life. Thank you. And I hope it remains that way. I am very much concerned with the proliferation of any more apartment complexes because I think it will change the atmosphere of this whole area because of the density of the population. My other concern, and I would like perhaps someone to answer this or look into it, let's say you build your apartment complexes and the economic situation just tumbles. My understanding is then if whoever the owners are of these apartment complexes, that there's a possibility that they could be changed into Section 8 housing with apartment vouchers. I have lived in areas where there were a lot of apartment buildings, and when the economy tanked, much of it went to Section 8 housing, and it certainly changed the atmosphere in the community. So I'll be happy to answer any personal questions that you would like to ask about that, but I would like some information about where you all think you are going as far as this situation is concerned.
The simple answer to that right now is we don't know. But we do have a forum, a public forum scheduled for May the 8th.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
May the 8th,
Maybe 8.
yes, and we'll take all the input that people want to give us. And I hope people will turn out because we'd like to hear from you.
All right. Are any of you familiar with Section 8 property?
I have an idea of what you're talking about.
I've sat on 2 housing authorities in other states before, so I'm familiar with it. You know, just a point of clarity, and maybe you are clear in this already. The May 8th meeting is not specific to apartments, or it's not like there's a project that's going to be discussed. You're talking about the land use plan meeting is what you're referring to. I just wanted to provide clarity because you brought that up. I'm not familiar with the comments. I've been a little out of the loop with some travel the last 2 weeks about the comments about apartments. But first of all, I want to thank you for coming down and sharing your concerns. I can't tell you how much we appreciate that. But I just want to make that clear that there's not a topic that's going to be just apartments
Just
only.
that, because when I spoke with Mr. Purvis today, he said that you do have developers that are already interested here.
I am not aware of any. I sit on the planning commission as well as the mayor. And I am not aware of any designs that are laid before us at the moment for any major apartment complexes. Now that doesn't mean that the rumor on the street might be that there is a developer or two looking at the community, but there is nothing that has been laid before us at this time. So I just wanted to make that clear to you.
Thank you, and I appreciate your listening to me. As I said, I wanted to hear it come before the fact,
Yeah,
rather than after the fact. Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Next item is approval of minutes, something we can't do tonight because we have only 2 who were here for that meeting at 8:03. So we need to postpone that. And then we'll move on to ordinances, the first reading for all 3 of these. First one is ordinance 12-06, an amendment to the Farragut Municipal Code, Title 14, Land Use Controls, to create minimum building facade requirements. Ruth, you're on.
Ordinance number 1206 was reviewed by the Planning Commission. It is not a requirement that when there's a new ordinance, the municipal code, that it go before the Planning Commission. However, since part of this ordinance is that they would be the review body, it was felt that it would be a good idea to take it before them. As you all know, I did 2 different training sessions with you with regard to architectural review. One was dealing with architectural facades, which included the design of the facades, but more importantly, the actual construction materials of the facades. And then also did the training session on the town center district. I did these same training sessions for the Planning Commission. Per those training sessions, you all decided that rather than doing a full architectural design review ordinance at this time, that it would be more appropriate to adopt a scaled-down version, and that once we've completed the land use plan, we may move forward with a more comprehensive architectural review ordinance. A while back, I did a training session for the Planning Commission and the Visual Resources Review Board, and to have a full architectural review, the Visual Resources Review Board would likely be designated as the review board, and then the Planning Commission would serve as the appellate body. With the ordinance that is before you tonight, it is a it is an objective ordinance rather than a subjective ordinance. So it would just be part of the site plan requirements with the Planning Commission. What this ordinance states is that no facade of any building shall exceed 15% metal composites and/or aluminum. Metal roofs and window frames shall not be included in the total calculation. As I stated, this is a objective ordinance, meaning it meets that 15%, meaning that it is less than 15%, or it does not meet it. It is not a matter of you don't agree or disagree with the style of the building. It is that you're looking at the facade and as to whether it meets that requirement. When site plans are submitted through the Planning Commission, the architectural rendering that is currently required and is included in the plans would be required to verify this ordinance requirement is met. The Planning Commission talked about this ordinance at their March Planning Commission meeting, recommended approval of it. One of the things that we changed is that we clarified in the ordinance that not only would metal roofs not count toward the total calculation, but that window frames also would not count, because that would be difficult to calculate, but also most window frames are metal, particularly in commercial buildings. The other thing was the clarification on facades, that facade that we meant all exterior building walls, not just the front of the building. Particularly with a lot of our buildings, they may be fronting on more than one street, but they also may front on multiple parking lots. So there's no true rear obscured portion of the building. As I stated, the Planning Commission recommended approval of ordinance 1206, and staff also recommends approval of this ordinance. There are some pictures, also if you want to look through. This is an example of a metal building within the town. The ends of the building are not metal, but the sides are. This is not in the town. So do you recognize these pictures from the training session that we did a few months back? This is an example of a metal building located outside the town. This is really the type of construction that we don't want to encourage, and this ordinance would preclude this type of construction. This is an example of a building here in town, and this metal canopy have the metal accents. This would comply with the requirements that are part of this ordinance. This is First Choice Automotive, south side of Kingston Pike near Smith Road. Again, here you have the metal canopy. That does count toward the 15%, but this building would comply with the ordinance that is before it.
I'm sure we can tweak this later if we have some other ideas.
Yes, in fact, I anticipate that once we completed the land use plan, we'll have a better feel from the public, business owners, and the citizens as to whether we want to go any further with an architectural review ordinance. The value of this particular ordinance is that, like I said, it is objective, so that you don't have the amount of detail that goes into actual architectural review. This is a good first step for us to take.
But it's not exactly like you've got to pick this or this.
No, it is basically the vast, in fact, there's very few buildings, and you saw one of them that doesn't comply with it. We've been very fortunate in the town of Farragut that apparently peer pressure is alive and well, because everybody seems to want to do up with their neighbors, because we've had very attractive buildings